Hello, this is Sherlock, and this is my beginner's guide to Blue Archive. Blue Archive is a gacha RPG in which we take the role of sensei or teacher, leading our students in combat in a wide variety of challenges. In this video, I will be covering the more general aspects of the game. For more specific guides, I'll link some of my other guides in the description, and stay tuned for future content. Now let's get into the topics of this video. We will start talking about resources, the types, the uses, the collection and the spending of them. Then we will talk about systems, like the cafe, lessons, clubs, friends, rental, crafting, shop and everything else. Then we are going to be taking a look at the combat. We are going to talk about combat basics and the different game modes. Then we are taking a look at the characters. We are going to be talking about the regular pool and which characters are the best in them. Then the reruns to look out for, freebies, archive events and banner priority. And then to end the video, we are going to be talking about best practices, daily routine, goal setting, resource management, character building tips, event farming tips and all that good stuff. So let's get into chapter 1, resources. Blue Archive has many types of different resources. First we have Pyroxene. Pyroxene is used for the gacha, energy refills, acquiring PvP tickets and others. We can acquire Pyroxene from many different sources. For example, stages, normal stages, hard stages, event, story, etc. PvP, some challenges, raids, our daily, weekly, monthly missions, challenge missions, achievement missions, they are all sources of Pyroxene. There is also Momotox, which is a system that we are going to be talking about later, but keep it in mind as it's a source of Pyroxene. Then we have AP, which is our energy or stamina system. This is our spendable resource to collect other resources, which is used in most game modes, with few exceptions. We can get it from our cafe, which is our best source, but more on this later. Overtime refill, we get overtime every couple minutes, we get some AP. Daily missions also award you some AP. We can refresh it through Pyroxene, and the shop offers some AP too. Then we have credits, which is used for all kinds of upgrades, crafting, the shop, and we get it from most activities in the game. XP. We acquire XP through the use of activity rewards. There are 4 tiers of rewards giving 50, 500, 2000 and 10,000 XP. We use tons of this. These can be acquired through normal gameplay, doing story missions, events and all that stuff, and dedicated stages that give you a lot, but they cost a lot of AP. Items. There is a wide variety of items, and they are all divided in 4 tiers. These are expendable materials that we use together with Blu-ray and tech notes to level up our students' skills. The sources are very varied, but you mostly get them from event shop rewards, some stages in which you can farm it, and rewards from raids and other challenge game modes. Accessory blueprints. Obtained from clearing and sweeping stages, we use them to craft equipment for our students to boost their stats. Students have defined sets they can wear, and the accessories always offer the same stats, so there is no tedious farming for min-maxing or set optimizing. Elf are acquired through gacha, event rewards and the shop. We use Elf to increase the star rank of our students. There are 2 types of Elf, character Elf and generic Elf. We can trade the generic one for character specific one. The rate increases the more we trade in, starting from 1 for the first 20, up to 5 per each Elf, but it will now go over 5 per. While there are other resources we could talk about, they are currencies that are awarded for cleaning certain content or advanced currencies that you will not interact with right from the get-go. So for now, let's move into the systems. Chapter 2, Systems. This game has several systems you will be able to interact from the beginning, and will be an integral part of the game for as long as you play. Starting with the cafe. The cafe is a place that students visit every 8 hours. They can be students you own and that you don't. You can click the ones you own to raise their bond rank for free every 8 hours. We can also offer gifts to our students to increase their bond rank further. We have the ability to invite students to the cafe once per day per each floor. Currently, we have 2 floors. The cafe is also a big source of AP and credits. The IP and credits generated increase in rate with the comfort level and with the café level, which is increased through the use of special items you will acquire as you progress in the story stages. Then we have lessons. Here we can see different parts of Kibotos. We can visit different schools and areas to find our students and increase the bond rank with them and obtain some small rewards. The actions we have there refresh daily. Then we have social systems. Blue Archive has clubs and friends, which are very important. We can rent students from other players to fill the gaps in our team compositions. This is especially good for new players. As a new player, you may encounter content that is too hard, but if you're in a club or have friends that have been playing for a while, you can rent one of their students to fill the gaps in your team and have them carry you. A max player will offer you probably max characters that do a lot of damage or offer very powerful buffs. So use this system to your advantage because it's very useful. Then we have crafting. We use resources obtained through daily missions and the gacha. Each time we pull for characters, we accumulate points. Those points can be used to spark for the banner student or students if we reach 200, but any points that you do not spend, so you don't exchange your points for a character, will be transformed into a resource that we can spend in the crafting system. The crafting system offers different items, books, credits, furniture, a lot of stuff. There is a second crafting system, which is the tailor crafting. This allows you to exchange things that you have in excess for things that you may be lacking, but early you will probably not interact with it too much. Chapter 3. Combat. Blue Archive at its core, it's a very simple game. We deploy teams of 6 characters, 4 strikers, 2 specials, or 10 characters in the game mode called Final Restriction Release, in which we use 6 strikers and 4 specials. Strikers are the students we see deployed on the field, and specials are the characters that take action outside of the field, and they transfer about 10% of their attack and HP and 5% of their defense and heal stat to our strikers. There are macro roles like tank, healer, support, attacker and tactical support. And there are micro roles, which are based on what the characters do. For example, buff support, debuff support, main DPS, sub DPS, discount support, axle support, and so on. Our students have armor type, damage type, and terrain preferences. Armor type and damage types are divided in 4 colors: red, which is light armor or explosive damage, blue, which is special armor or mystic damage, yellow, which is heavy armor or piercing damage, and purple, which is elastic armor and sonic damage. Armor can be weak, neutral, or resistant against damage, and this changes the amount of damage received by the defender. Weak takes 200% damage, neutral takes 100% damage, and resistant takes 50% damage. There is one exception to it, being sonic damage against special armor. You will deal 150% damage in this case. This chart, that is also shown during the loading screens in the game, will give you a clear breakdown of how armor and damage types interact. On the first column you can see each armor type, and in the first row each damage type. So for example, if you want to know how explosive damage interacts with each armor, you can just read the column under explosive. Otherwise, if you want to know how light armor interacts with each damage type, you just need to read the row where it's located. Terrains will influence the mood of our students. This is also known as terrain affinity. Depending on our students' mood or affinity in a particular terrain, they can get buffs or debuffs that will affect their damage dealt and survivability. This is very important, as characters will perform a lot better or worse depending on the terrain. For example, when we deal damage to an enemy that is weak to our attack type, they take 200% damage, but if we have excellent affinity, the damage goes up to 240%. However, if the affinity is terrible, then the damage goes down to 160%. While there are several more layers to discuss, for a new player the most important things to keep in mind are armor type, damage type, and terrain, as more in-depth mechanics become important when you start reaching the quote-unquote endgame. However, I will be making a video explaining more about combat and other systems too, so stay tuned for when that happens. Now let's talk about game modes. There are several game modes in Blue Archive. Missions, which are stages that we complete in normal and hard difficulty to earn Pyroxene, farm materials to craft accessories, and upgrade some of our students' start rank. Bounties are stages that we can complete a limited number of times every day. We complete them to get Blu-rays and tech notes to upgrade our students' skills. Co-missions are simple challenge stages that offer credits or student XP materials. These are only worth doing during double drop events. Scrimmage are stages that we can complete a limited number of times every day to obtain credits and materials to upgrade our students' unique equipments, or UE for short. These stages will not matter early since UE are only available for a student after reaching 5 stars. Tactical Challenge is our version of PvP. Here you create two teams, an attack team and a defense team. Your attack team will battle another player's defense team that you pick from a list of 3 that will be shown to you in the PvP lobby. Neither you or your opponent have control over the students on the battlefield. The rewards that this mode offers are not incredible, but they add up over time. Joint Firing Drills, or JFD for short, are challenges with special rules that put your strategic ability to the test. For example, enemies that only take damage from damage over time effects or dots. Enemies that only can be defeated if they are under crowd control or CC, or stages that make our students more powerful the less students we deploy. There are some stages that will also require a big deal of power, but the idea behind JFDs is to offer interesting challenges that push us into use more of meta students. Tactical Assault and Grand Assault, also commonly known as raids, these game modes offer a wide variety of different bosses with 8 different difficulty levels for you to progress through. Raids put your students' strength and your strategic ability to the test. They can be great fun. In TA we fight the regular version of the bosses, and in GA we fight the bosses with different armor types, which makes for an interesting challenge. These raids have a wide variety of challenges to solve, from single target encounters against a boss that works basically as a race to defeat the boss before it takes you down, to bosses that require us to dodge, defeat waves of enemies, and spot the real boss among its clones. Final Restriction Release, or FRR. This game mode is mostly an endgame mode, since the rewards that it offers are special types of materials that are used to further increase the stats of our students after they reach level 90 and 5 stars rarity. This game mode also requires 10 students, 6 strikers and 4 specials, and each boss has a very different set of mechanics that we need to comply with. While early stages are fairly manageable, later stages can be extremely challenging, even for veteran players. Events and Story offer read stages and combat stages. Read stages are short story beats that you read through and get rewarded. Combat stages give you a set lineup of students that you can sometimes control during that stage, and then you get rewards. Events also have quest stages, which are like the normal stages we run on missions, but they offer pyroxene, some materials, and event currency that you will be able to trade in the event shop. Lastly, events also offer challenge stages, which consist of stages with special rules or very tough opponents, and clearing them provide us with some pyroxene. That covers the basics of each game mode. While there are special minigames that happen occasionally during events, they are rare and self-explanatory, so let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 4. Characters. Now, the first things everyone wants to know: should I reroll? What characters should I look for? What are the best characters? And so on. However, there are a few things that I want you to keep in mind. First is that rerolling in BA can be very tedious, so I would not recommend wasting too much time into it. Second is that new players get a big amount of resources, so you will eventually get most of the characters. Third is that BA has pickup, limited and fest banners. Pickup banners introduce new students to the regular pool permanently, so even after the rate up is gone, there is always a chance to get them. Limited banners introduce characters that will not be available after their banner is gone, until they have a rerun. Fest banners are special banners that happen twice a year to celebrate the half anniversary and anniversary of the game. They introduce the most powerful students and offer increased rates for 3-star students, going up from 3% to 6%. Fest banners are an incredible opportunity not only to pick up new powerful students, but to also pick up previous FES students as they are all available in the FES pool, and you can also pick up many powerful students that are in the regular pool. If you are starting to play as of the Steam release, you are very lucky, because soon we will have a festival banner going on, which will introduce 2 extremely powerful students that you don't want to miss out on, and this is a very good chance for you to fill up your roster with very good students. The regular pool has some incredibly powerful characters that are meta even today. For example, Himari, Ako, Kisaki, Mine, Kokona, Cherino, Harecamp, Shun, and many other characters are in the regular pool, and they are extremely powerful and they will carry you through many different game modes. We will talk a little bit more about them later on the video, but let's keep moving. Also, keep in mind that there are characters that perform better early than others, and there are characters that may not be meta, but they are still very powerful and they can help you fill the gaps. For example, Hibiki is a very powerful special that deals explosive damage in a large area. She performs extremely well in PvP and she can be very good early in raids. Also, since the introduction of Bond Gears, which is slowly but surely helping bring new light into older characters, Hibiki has been finding more use in the game. Another good example is Iori. She's a very powerful striker that deals piercing damage and can perform very well in both early and endgame. Last example is Shun. Her normal skill is a huge benefit in most content, and she is the queen of PvP and the key for most, if not every, speedrun strategy in raids. But more on her later. There are also ways outside of the gacha system to acquire students, for example farming hard stages and the shop. For example, the Total Assault shop allows you to get Koharu, who is one of the best striker killers in the game. Azusa is a very powerful explosive DPS that can also act as a debuff support in certain content. Maki and Akane are extremely good debuff supports, and they are the core for some strategies. Kotama is a very good attack buffer and also can apply a decent debuff, and these are only some examples of the characters that you can get. The Grand Assault Chop, Tactical Challenge and Joint Fire Drill Chops also offer characters that may be worth getting. I will leave this chart here with what are in my opinion the best characters to get first on every shop. Pause the video if you need to. To get these characters, you'll need to get a certain amount of elf before you can actually claim them. But even after that, you can still use the reward chops to get elf until they reach the limit. That means 5 stars and 3 stars UE. Keep in mind that these characters are also available in the gacha system, so these chops will accelerate the process of maxing these characters, or if you get them through the shop and later you find them in the gacha, you can use the fragments obtained through the gacha to save coins that you can use in other things in the same shops. The same applies to hard stages. You can farm elf for several different characters that will help you a lot in your BA journey. For example, Tsubaki, Hibiki, Iori, Isuna, Kayuko, Hoshino, Neru, Haruka, Yuka are some good examples of characters that you should farm. Now, I know what you're thinking about. Okay, Sherlock, but can you tell me what's the best character? Okay. Let's break it down into small chunks, and keep in mind that there may be characters I did not think of or that other people may hold in higher regards than I do, so take this with a pinch of salt. Also, for more detailed information on all these characters I will be mentioning and future characters, check my review videos and first impression videos. I have covered extensively every character release as first impressions when they come out on JP and full reviews when they come out on the global version. Starting with the regular pool, here are some students for you to look for. When it comes to specials, we have Himari, Ako and Kisaki. These three are probably the top 3 specials you should look for. They have buffs that are very powerful and currently unmatched. They are extremely versatile, being present in almost every team in most content. Other than these three, Swimsuit Shiroko is also an extremely versatile character due to her utility, but besides that, a lot will depend on your goals and content. So in general, I would say the following. When it comes to explosive specials, you should look for Hibiki, Minori, Swimsuit Fubuki, and Satsuki. These are the most notable ones because they have very strong niches and they are meta or useful in one or more pieces of content. Hibiki being the cutest character in the game, no bias maybe. She is generally good, being very efficient in the early game and picking up steam again in the top end of the game. She sees plenty of use in PvP and some very high-end raid content. Minori is extremely powerful, but most of her use, if not all, is concentrated in one raid called Gregorius. She is the strongest special DPS for this raid, packing big megaphone with her everywhere she goes. Satsuki and Swimsuit Fubuki are also quote-unquote meta, specifically in a raid called Gebura. Both are very sus characters, but for very different reasons. Don't look at Satsuki too close, she may hypnotize you, or at least she will try to. When it comes to piercing damage, part-time Sumire, Guide Tsubaki, Makoto and Utaha. All 4 of these characters are fairly niche. Part-time Sumire shines in a raid called Wakamo Hovercraft. Guide Tsubaki is only used in the Fury of Set, TFS for short, which is a boss in the final restriction release, and I would not call her meta, but she's still very good in there. Makoto shines in scenarios with plenty of enemies, so she will be of use in Chesed and the heavy armor version of some bosses during GA events. Utaha is very versatile because she can deploy turrets on the field that deal damage, block enemy skills and draw aggro. She is good in PvP and certain bosses. However, while I would not call her meta, she is a very good pickup and a very good character to build. When it comes to the Mystic category, we have New Year Akari and Mari. Akari has found most of her use during TFS, Special Armor Season and some GA bosses. Mari is mostly used in a boss called Peroro Tzila, Peroro for short, because of her ability to cleanse a debuff and offer shields. When it comes to general utility, Kipao Tomoe, Swimsuit Amy, Hot Spring Shigure, Hot Spring Nodoka, Hanako, Kotama and others. These characters mentioned here either offer utility to deal with mechanics, good amounts of healing and buffs or debuffs. When I say other, I refer to characters that I may have forgotten or that can be acquired outside the gacha or that are just too new for me to have enough data. When it comes to strikers in the regular pool, it is a little bit more tricky. Because they are deployed on the field, their survivability comes into the equation. Because of that, some characters will be a lot better at higher investment levels, as we may still want to deploy them, but without the right amount of investment, they will not survive very long. Also, some strikers are extremely good in certain niches and useless outside of it, but the amount of value they provide in their niche is unmatched, making them almost mandatory to have. Because of these and many other reasons, I would strongly recommend again to check the reviews for the character that you may be interested on. With that said, there are some generally good strikers. All of these strikers provide a lot of value regardless of the enemy armor type. But keep in mind that depending on the enemy damage type, they may struggle to survive or it may be straight up impossible for them to do it. So in those scenarios, you may need to look for alternatives. Kokona, Koharu, Hare Camp, Aru Dress, Ui and Cherino are some good examples of this. Kokona offers a high amount of healing for herself and one other ally. Also, when a condition is met, she discounts the cost of all of her character's EX skill by 1 for their next cast. Koharu offers a lot of healing in a decent area, and she also offers a lot of healing to a single target at regular intervals. Harekamp and Arudres offer very powerful buffs that can boost our damage output by an impressive amount if you can put them in the right team. Ui is a very unique character, offering the ability to halve the cost of the EX skill of one striker for the next 2 uses. Cherino offers cost acceleration, or Accel for short, which means that our cost bar will fill faster, allowing us to use more EX skills. Also, she deals a good amount of AoE damage. Utility strikers. These are strikers that can help us deal with mechanics regardless of the enemy armor type. However, they are less versatile than the previously mentioned ones, because their skills are meant to accomplish one goal. Swimsuit Kana and Swimsuit Saki. They are amongst the few characters with the ability to buff our special characters. They offer significant debuffs that can be very useful in certain contents. Kana is mostly used in Bina and Gebura, and Saki in Gregorius and Gebura. Both of them are packing a surprising amount of utility. Shun. Her normal skill is one of a kind among strikers, providing us with what I call a kickstart effect. This skill grants us 3.8 cost instantly at the beginning of combat. This makes her the queen of PvP and speed run strategies. However, while she could fit the generally good category, Shun does not only need a high level of investment on herself, but also the team that goes with her needs to be extremely strong, as we use her to end the combat as soon as possible. Not exactly new player friendly outside of PvP. Her age may be a mystery, but she does not leave much else to the imagination. Kayoko. Her CC capabilities are solid, and while she has been fading off the meta in both HOD and Wakamo Hovercraft, she's still very good, cute and likes metal. Niche meta. These are strikers that are good in one specific boss or piece of content, but average outside of it. While some of them can be replaced or have alternatives, some of the characters that I'm about to list here are still unique in their roles or don't have alternatives in the regular pool. Kikyo, currently used only in Kurokage. She is the only student in the regular pool that provides sonic damage, buffs, AoE damage, AoE defense debuff, and EX cost discounts all together in one character. This makes her the meta support for Kurokage. She may be a tsundere, but she's very cute and caring. Atsuko. She is a very strong tank with high amounts of evasion, the ability to raise all of our strikers' evasion, and heal herself and all nearby strikers, up until the recent release of a character that we will discuss later. She was the meta tank and healer for Kurokage. She's still very good, but at higher difficulties she may struggle. However, she remains a solid tank for general use, including PvP. She's as delicate as the flowers she loves so much, and her friends call her princess. Casual Senna, one of the most adorable character releases of recent time. She has a lot, like a freaking lot of healing, and she is the character taking over the healing duty from Atsuko in Kurokage. However, she's not a tank, and while she has decent survivability, outside of Kurokage she has seen almost zero use, if not zero. As of the making of this video, she is not available in the global version of Blue Archive. Natsu, one of the best tanks for Perorotzilla. thanks to her ability to heal herself while cleaning a debuff. While Reiza has taken over her in popularity, Natsu remains a top pick, especially in higher difficulties, where you're likely to need more than one team. She likes sweets a lot and saying weird things. Swimsuit Miyako. While she has partially lost her meta status in Gregorius to Mine, Swimsuit Miyako remains a very solid pick, and in high difficulties, she's still amongst the top picks for multiple team strategies. Her L2D is adorable. Mine is mostly meta in Gregorius, but still holds some value outside of it. I would say that she mostly shines in Gregorius though. She is not as niche as the rest, but I think she fits the category well. Also, she's very unaware of how cute she is, and that's cute in itself. Kayoko Dress has the ability to ignore a big part of the enemy defense, making her very good against high defense enemies, specifically Bina. While she has very strong competition, high difficulty tiers are still being cleared with multiple teams, and Kayoko is among the top picks. Her L2D is very sus. Tsukuyo and Amy. These two have big tanking abilities, and they are very popular choices for Wakamo Hovercraft, for their ability to self-heal and survive the unrelenting attacks from Wakamo. Moving to the next category, we're going to be talking about characters that are quote-unquote color dominant. That means that they are very popular in most content that involves that damage type. New Year Kayoko. She is the best example of a color dominant character. She has the ability to increase the mystic damage of one striker by a whole lot. This buff is incredibly strong, and that's why we do our darn best to use her whenever we need to buff our mystic DPS. Her L2D is very cute. Aru. Before the release of Dress Hina, which is a fest character we will be talking about later, she was very dominant as a DPS for the explosive damage class, especially after the introduction of her Bond gear. She is the best dork boss. Maki. As previously mentioned, you can also get her from the reward shop. Maki offers consistent application of a decent defense debuff that comes very handy in many scenarios. She's a hacker and a street painter, and she has some of the cutest and funniest facial expressions. But I think that's enough for the regular pool. While there are other characters that could be worth mentioning, the list could get way too long, and we still have the limited pool and the fest pool, and the freebies to cover. So now let's move on to the limited pool. The limited pool contains some very valuable students, and you should keep an eye open for their reruns. Obviously, newer students are as good as gone for a new player, for at least a year. Same applies to students that had a recent rerun. However, the students listed here will also be good pickups when it comes to renting students from friends and guild members. Starting with Track Yuka. Her abilities to shield and especially to move our strikers to a different location makes her one of the best tanks for Shirokuro and Ghost. She also finds use in other content, but not as much. She also wears bloomers. New Year Fuka is one of those specials that you must have. She offers the ability to halve the cost of one EX skill for the next cast, which is extremely rare. There is currently no other special that can do that. She is a must pick up if you ever come across her rerun. Her cooking skills are very popular. Idol Mari is an excellent striker healer with the unique ability to overheal, which temporarily increases the target max HP up to 50% for a limited duration. Not only that, but after activating her EX skill 3 times, she will discount all other students' EX cost by 1 for their next cast. She practices very hard. Seiya is a very strong striker support, offering cost reduction and can increase the piercing damage of one ally. Her ghost sleeves and birds are adorable. New Year Butsuki is a very strong mystic AoE DPS. She is a very popular pick anytime we need to deal with a bunch of enemies, sometimes even against enemies from a different armor type. She is very devious. Swimsuit Isuna is a very strong auto-attacker that also offers a good amount of utility, applying debuffs, and the Focus Fire effect. Focus Fire makes it so all your strikers' auto-attacks will target a specific enemy. She is very loyal to her lord and her LTD is very cute. The following characters are debatable, but I think they hold a lot of value due to how unique they are. They may not be meta everywhere, but they are good in their particular niche. Uniform Asuna and Idol Sakurako. These two offer very unique and powerful buffs for our special students. Currently, they are absolute meta in Gebura. They have seen some moderate use in Gregorius, in the highest difficulty tiers. However, we don't have much content centered around specials, so their use remains fairly limited. Uniform Asuna wants to go on a walk with you, but be careful, you may end up in a weird spot, and Sakurako is really cute when she's not trying to be. Dress Ako. She has seen most of her use in TFS, but in recent times she has seen some use in raids. I still would not call her meta, but she's a very solid support, offering critical rate and critical damage buffs over a fairly big area. She is dressed to impress, but maybe there is too little dress. Hikari and Nozomi, aka the Train Twins. Hikari offers extremely powerful buffs for Sonic DPS, making her the more versatile character of the two. She also offers a unique buff that reduces the additional cost paid by skills up to 2 points for their next use. This currently only works with Nozomi, who is a very strong DPS that has guaranteed critical damage and the ability to buff herself. They are currently only using Tifaret, which is a new final restriction release boss, but they have potential for other content, especially Hikari. These two are responsible for the destruction of my Pyroxene count, taking it from 48k to 0. Banned Kazusa and banned Yoshimi. While I would not recommend getting them, especially for a new player, it's undeniable that they are very strong when it comes to TFS. However, outside TFS they have absolute no use. Now let's move on to fest banners or festival banners. In short, pick them all up. Whenever there's a fest banner going on, pull on them and try to get as many of them as you can. They're extremely powerful and 100% worth getting. Remember, all the fest students are available in the fest pool whenever a fest banner happens. That means that you can get students from previous fest banners. Now, let's talk about the students themselves. Wakamo is an extremely powerful single target DPS. While she may require more investment than other fest characters, she is well worth the materials. She will kill for you, literally. Mika. She is one of the most powerful DPS in the game. She has been dominating the piercing damage class since her release. While there is some strong competition now, she's still one of the best DPS in the game. She has guaranteed critical damage, her EX skill deals more damage the more HP the enemy has, and her survivability is top tier, thanks to her high evasion and the fact that she takes reduced damage from all sources. She is a delicate princess and strong as a gorilla. Mika's bubbly personality and intimidating strength have charmed a big part of the player base. Swimsuit Hoshino is one of the best supports in the game. She offers very strong buffs and she is very tanky. She's a very popular choice in tons of different content, but be careful when napping under the sun. Swimsuit Hanako, one of the most powerful DPS in the game. She deals an incredible amount of Sonic AoE damage, and can also reduce the enemy defense by a good amount at regular intervals. She's so strong that she even finds use against enemies with special armor, since Sonic damage deals 150% damage against special armor. This is possible thanks to her high attack stat and the ability to cast her EX repeatedly up to 3 times. She may or not be wearing her bikini bottoms. Dress Hina. she took complete control over the explosive content after her release. When an enemy has light armor, Dresgina will be there to take it down. The only exception being Gebura, since the rules of this raid reduce the damage of strikers by 75%. She grants herself very strong permanent buffs at the start of battle. Her EX has an initial cost of 6 and changes to her firing mode, allowing her to fire 3 very strong projectiles for a cost of 0, dealing huge amounts of damage to all enemies in its path. She is not only adorable, but she can play the piano fairly well. Shiroko Terror, the strongest auto-attacker in the game and one of the best Mystic DPS. While she's not as dominant as other Fez characters, she is fairly versatile. Whenever she's meta, she is by far the best character for that content. A strong Shiroko packs some big buffs for herself. Battle Hoshino is the first character with the ability to completely change her skill set and role before battle. You can pick between attacker or tank. This makes her very versatile and she is very strong in both forms. Her attacker form is especially good against enemies with high defense, while her tank form is very versatile, providing debuffs and cover. She has seen use in tons of different content. When she's not sleeping, she can be very lethal. Ryo is one of the most unique specials in the game. She has the ability to buff a striker attack and discount their EX skill by 1 for 1 use. And she clones that student EX card so you can recast it immediately after the student finishes the animation of its first cast. She was one of the most wanted characters by the player base for 2 big reasons. Her personality and beauty, obviously. Uniform Neru. She's a piercing DPS that gets stronger the longer the battle goes for. This makes her very good in certain scenarios, outclassing many other DPS when compared head to head. However, we are still experimenting with her in different content due to how unique her kit is. Her LTD puts a light on her kit side. Last but not least, let's talk about the freebies. Blue Archive often gives out free characters as part of the event rewards. You can also obtain their elf during the event to increase their star rank. Event freebies can only be obtained during the event, event reruns or archived events. Archived events are events that will not be on rotation and can be permanently accessed to give players the opportunity to get the freebies from those events. These characters are usually good and sometimes even meta, so let's talk about the most notable ones. Idol Mine is a tank with good amounts of utility in her kit, and she is the meta tank in Gebura. She really wants to be cute, but she doesn't realize that she already is. Uniform Karin is a special attacker that deals more damage the less HP the enemy has. Her EX cost is very high, but she's an excellent boss finisher, especially when it comes to Gebura. Outside of it, she does not see much use, if any. Despite her appearance, she can be pretty shy. Koharu Swimsuit is an AoE Mystic DPS that has been very popular in Gregorius GA due to her damage output against mid-size enemies and cheap EX skill. Her mind is filled with books. Those books. Kirino Swimsuit is a fairly popular pick for 2 out of the 3 bosses in FRR. She provides valuable buffs and cover. Her L2D will make you feel safe in the pool. Swimsuit Izumi. She deals decent damage and attacks very fast, and she can stun enemies, which is very handy in certain scenarios. While I would not call her meta, she's a nice filler to have. Her L2D is the first L2D to get me in trouble with YouTube. Swimsuit Ayane is a very solid tactical support that provides a good amount of damage. She's especially good against high defense enemies because she can ignore part of the defense with her normal skill. Her L2D is beautiful. Also, elf girl with glasses is just an excellent combination. Swimsuit Atsuko is a very solid single target healer with a very cheap EX skill. And I don't know how she does it, but she keeps getting cuter. Now, while there are some other notable freebies and characters that should have been mentioned here, the list is already pretty long and I don't want to make this longer than it needs. So let's move to the last chapter. Chapter 5, Best Practices. This chapter contains a wide variety of useful general tips that should make your progression smoother and hopefully less frustrating. Let's start with the daily routine. First, you should visit your cafe to collect the energy and credits generated. Here, you can also interact with your students to raise their bond rank. Bond rank provides stat bonuses, so if you remember to visit your cafe every 8 hours, you can get a lot of bond rank experience for free. Also, remember to invite students to your cafe. You can invite one per room every day. Another useful thing that you can get from increasing the bond rank with your students is Momotalks. Momotalks are small story beats that you have with different students. They award you with the lobbies that you see on the background and with some pyroxene. Usually people bank those Momotalks so they can collect the pyroxene when they need to. After you have collected your resources and interacted with your students, you should proceed to the lessons. Here, you can visit different parts of Kibotos to interact with your students and earn different resources. You have 7 interactions per day, and zones level up as you interact with the students on each part of those zones, opening more parts of the zone and giving you a wider choice of students for you to interact with. After you are done with lessons, you should collect your daily free energy from visiting your club. Then collect items from the crafting lab and set a new item to craft. Then go to the shop and acquire the following items. The items shown here will help your progression and will not overwaste your credits. Keep in mind that some of these items you can skip if you have an abundance of them and save credits. Then go to campaign. If you are at a point where you can defeat the enemies in a scrimmage, do clear the highest difficulty you can. And if you have already cleared it, use your tickets to sweep it. Then do the same for bounty missions, picking the stage that offers you the books and Blu-rays that you need. After that, use your PvP tickets and collect your rewards. Now it's time to spend the bulk of your stamina. Early doing event stages can be a little bit hard, so if you hit a wall, progress with your missions in normal and hard difficulty. Especially if there is double drop events, you should probably give priority to farming your mission stages. If you cannot progress further with your missions, then you probably should farm the stages you need to upgrade your students' accessories. To know what stage to farm, go to your students and go to the accessories. Click level up and pick the accessory you want to level up. When you move the arrow to the side, you will see the materials you are missing. Click on the missing material and then the stages where you can farm it will be displayed. Pick the highest one as it will offer the highest chances for drops. Once you click the stage, you will be automatically moved there and the stage menu will show. Sweep the stage as many times as you can or want, depending on your stamina and tickets available. If you can, more or less, calculate the number of sweeps you will need for the materials you want, you can save some stamina and tickets by trying to nail the number of clears. After that, go back to the main menu and collect your daily tasks rewards. They will award you with Pyroxene and even some extra stamina for you to spend. Now that you're done with your dailies, you should go engage with the temporary mode that it's currently undergoing. Total Assault and JFD will require you to do one clear before you can sweep the rest of your attempts. Grand Assault only requires you to do one clear for each armor type during that week. After that, you can sweep the rest of the week if you don't want to try a new difficulty or to improve your score. You should try to achieve a clear in the highest difficulty that is possible for you to do, as it will provide you with more rewards. Now that we have broadly explained your daily gameplay loop, let's talk about resource management, setting goals, character building tips, and event farming tips. Resources in Blue Archive get more and more tight as you progress through the game, not because you get less of them, but because you will require an enormous amount of them. So much so that resource management becomes a crucial skill to develop as you play through the game. In my opinion, the best way to manage your resources is planning ahead and setting clear goals. By planning ahead, I mean to prepare for characters that are coming rather than building your back catalog, with a few exceptions obviously, but this is where setting goals comes in. Blue Archive content does not leave anyone out, and all content has different difficulty tiers that are meant for every player. However, there is a lot of it, and as a new player trying to tackle everything would be spreading your resources very thin and hinder your progress. Therefore, I would recommend to focus on one thing at a time. For example, you may choose to focus on yellow armor raids, so you will start building your core for these armors, or maybe you choose one specific raid and prepare yourself for that. Maybe you want to focus on FRR, which I would not recommend. Whatever you choose to do, stick to it and take it one step at a time. It is also important to keep in mind that there are students that are universally good, and there are students that do not need all of their skills leveled up, which can save you resources. For example, Himari, Ako, Kisaki, New Year Fuka, Ryo, Swimsuit Chiroko are specials that perform very well, and they are meta or mostly meta in every piece of content. Therefore, spending resources on them to max out their skills and accessories would be a good investment. When it comes to strikers, Kokona, Koharu, Swimsuit Hoshino, Camp Hare, Dress Aru, Idol Mari, Ui, Seiya, Battle Hoshino, they can offer a lot of value in different content. When it comes to characters that are good in all content of one type, we have characters like Mika and Dress Hina that will be your DPS characters in most situations against heavy and light armor enemies respectively. When it comes to Mystic DPS, it's a little bit trickier because there is a very fairly even split between Wakamu, Shiroko Terror and Battle Hoshino, as they have different use cases and they have very little overlap. However, when it comes to support, New Year Kayoko is an excellent investment to boost your DPS against special armored enemies. Swimsuit Hanako is used in almost every single piece of content where enemies have elastic armor, and she also performs very well against special armored enemies. Kayoko and Camp Kotama are excellent choices for content that requires crowd control or CC. Fubuki is also a great pickup and she is free. Now, as a general rule for building characters, I personally take this approach. First, I give priority to my main DPS for the content I'm focusing on. I take them as high as possible. This includes level, accessories, skills, and if available, unique equipment. Then, I focus on my striker supports. I invest on them enough for them to survive without too much trouble. Skills, I focus on the important ones first, and these will vary from character to character. Usually, the EX skill is important for every character, so that's one skill that you are sure to level up. Then when it comes to the rest, you will need to read what they do, or you can leave a comment on a video and I'm pretty sure I or someone else will give you an answer. Then I work on my tanks. Tanks are very important, but they are also the more resilient. So I upgrade them in star rank as I go up in difficulty tiers. I focus on the skills that matter, and the accessories usually are very important for tanks as they provide HP and other useful stats to boost their survivability. However, when it comes to specials, I focus on the ones that are universally good, for example, Himari, Ako, Kisaki, New Year Fuka, and Swimsuit Shiroko. Then I focus on the ones that are niche meta. That means characters that are exceptionally good in a few pieces of content. Hibiki, Minori, Nagisa, Satsuki, Swimsuit Fubuki are good examples of this. When it comes to investing in these characters, depending on the role, you may start with lower investment levels and slowly work them up. For example, Himari, Ako, and Kisaki mainly need their EX skill and sub skills. However, the rest can stay at 7, and when you're ready to level them up, you can level up those skills too. Hibiki, Minori, Nagisa, Satsuki, and Fubuki are attackers, and having all of their skills maxed out is probably for the best. Also, they should be treated as main DPS like your strikers. Nagisa is a little bit of an exception because she provides more utility than damage. When it comes to farming events, you should focus on Blu-rays, tech notes, and materials to level up your student skills. If there is a free student, spending your stamina to get their fragments first may be a good idea. And obviously, if there is a shop that includes Pyroxene and Elf, you should try to get those ASAP. Events offer you different type of currencies to spend on the event reward shop. Usually, the last few stages will offer you the highest amount of the different currencies you can farm. Remember to fill bonus students when you clear the stage for the first time, so then you can sweep the stages to get the currency without having to reclear it every time. To do so, you may press the Auto button on the formation screen. This will automatically fill the students that will offer you the highest amount of bonus rewards for that stage. But with that said, I think we have covered all the basic aspects of the game. While there is a lot more depth to go into about various topics, I'll make a more dedicated video, so we can keep this video concise and not too long. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Also, you can ask me anything on the comments or come to the stream every Saturday and Sunday from 4 PM to 6 PM GMT +2. Even if we are playing different games, you are welcome to ask anything about Blue Archive and I will be glad to help you out. Lastly, if you want to support me further, consider becoming a member or leaving a super thanks. I would truly appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope this video was helpful and informative, and I wish you all a great day. See you next time.